let's see, Unit 4, Lesson 2, Warm-Up. Factor out the GCF of the binomial. In other words, out of these two terms, is there any numerical coefficients that can come out, or are there any A's that can come out, or the S? We're trying to look at what they have in common and take out the greatest common factor. So if you look at the numerical coefficients, that's a 3 and that's a 7. So there's no factors in common other than a 1. So there's nothing we can remove from that. This term has an A, this term has a B, and there's no repeats. But they both have 1x. So you can reduce both of these terms by an x, right? Take an x out, and you have 3a left. Take an x out, and you have negative 7b left. That's all you need to do for that one. This one, what goes into a 50 and an 80? 10. So if you take a 10 out, you have, 5 left and an x, and an 8 left and a y. Can't take the letters out. What goes into 21, 30, and 27? Looking for a common factor. If we don't know our factors, we can take a moment and go, let's see, a 21 is 3 and 7. 30 is a 3 and 10, which is a 2 and a 5. 27 is a 3 and a 9. So they certainly all have 3 in common. And with 21, the only other factor is a 7, so there definitely is not a 7 in the other ones. So I can take a 3 out. Take a 3 out. Always write it as part of the answer. 3 into 30 goes 10 times. 3 into 27 goes 9 times. That's it. All right, FOIL. First, x times x is x squared, right? There's bases are the same. You add the exponents, you have 2. X, 5 times x, 5 times x. So this is first, outside, inside, last for FOIL. That's where FOIL comes from. And then you combine like terms if you need to. Both of these have 1x, so you can combine them. Okay, and let's see, special products. The first term in this binomial and the first term in this binomial are the same, 3x and 3x. 3x times 3x is 3 times 9 is, or 3 times 3 is 9. 9, or x to the first power times x to the first power is x to the second power. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then this one here, negative 21x. I've got 1y and 1x. Okay. This one here, positive 21, 1y, 1x. And then 7 times 7, negative 7 is a 49y squared. Right, 2 y's. Add the exponents. And it's a special product because the first terms are the same, the last terms are the same, and the signs are opposite. So what happens when there's opposite signs? They go away. Think about that for a minute. If you are adding, let's say you have negative 21xy divided by a negative 21xy. You have the same thing over the same thing, you get a 1. But if you subtract 21xy and a positive 21xy, you get a 0. So make sure you understand the difference. When you're adding and subtracting terms, and you have the same exact number with opposite signs, you have no x's and no y's left over, and your answer is a 0. If you're dividing the same over the same, your answer is a 1. Remember, x squared over x squared equals a 1. 12 over 12 equals a 1. But it's different when you're subtracting, okay? 12 minus 12 is 0. x squared minus, that's kind of a 1x squared minus 1x squared, right, equals 0x squared. So there's no x squares anymore. So make sure you can make that switch, okay? That's the answer for that one. This one is what, 12x squared minus 8 plus, ooh, what did I forget? This x times this x makes 1 plus 1 is 2. 1x plus no x is 8x, right? And plus 21x minus 14. These together, 12x. So 21 minus 8 is a positive 13 minus 14. All right, and then this last one, our initial reaction would be to distribute this, because that's what we spent a lot of our time doing. But remember, chapter 5 was putting things together and distributing. Chapter 6 is taking things apart. So we want to leave them apart. And I skipped the instructions, which says factor out a greatest common factor. The 5 is a factor, the b is a factor, and then this whole binomial is a factor, okay? 2 is a factor, and then this whole binomial is a factor. So the common factor that they have is 2a plus 3. That's a factor that they have in common. And remember how we did it up there. We took out the common factor, put it in front, and put the rest that's left in parentheses. Okay, if you distributed this, if you've distributed the first one and foiled the second one, you should come out with the same answers. Okay, first times first, 2 times 5 is 10, a times b is ab. Outside, 2a, so times 2 would be 4a. 3 times 5b is 15b. 3 times 2 is 6. So sometimes when you FOIL, you end up with 2 terms. Sometimes when you FOIL, you end up with 3 terms. Sometimes when you FOIL, you end up with 4 terms. So as we move along, we're going to be factoring 4 terms, 3 terms, and 2 terms. Okay? So, tell you what, let's do this on the next video.